Hey everyone, welcome to the GYST Podcast.
If you're tired of being comfortable and want to take on living life from the context of 100%, fuck yeah!
Join us each week as we share lessons we're experiencing in this crazy game called life.
We invite you to play along and get your shit together.
Take responsibility for how your life is currently going, and at the same time, take on new, fun, and sometimes crazy shit.
We promise to challenge your thinking by being vulnerable, authentic, and straight up with what we're dealing with, what doesn't work, and what can.
Be warned, this is not your grandma's podcast.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the GYST Life Podcast, episode 65. Today, David and Vern talk about the Unmessables, our triad accountability group. We talk about the 5 a.m. club and the 90-91 method of focus. We talk about a little bit of a teaser. David's working on a new project, so stay tuned for that. What about employees, folks? Getting 3 hours of work done in an 8-hour day? Yikes. And the entrepreneur, the need, the pull to work 8-12 hours a day, and it's still not being enough. And what's possible out of focus. If you're focused, you know what you're up to, you can get a lot done in a short period of time. Thus, vision boarding and focusing on your dream and not all the crap that gets put in your head from outside sources. What about extreme ownership? Your life is your life. Your situation is your situation. So own that shit and move on. We talk about sex. I'll leave it at that. And how choices from the past show up in your present and how you can transform that. So let's get into the show.
All right.
All right. So what's going on, man? Like, what are we thinking about today? Are we brainstorming? Are we like, what's on the brain? What's on the agenda?
There's nothing on the agenda, which is always a good thing, because then something happens.
Something shows up.
We had a pretty good conversation yesterday with the Unmessables, the weekly check-in. Mm-hmm. We talked about it a few times, right? Our triad.
On the podcast?
Here and there.
Yeah, I think so.
There was a little bit more intention that we were looking to create around that never ended up going anywhere. So to get you who are listening up to speed, Vern, myself, and a good friend of ours, Heather Spurl, we run a triad. It's an accountability group, 3 people. It was for a better part of, a year and a half?
Yeah, we should probably caveat that with that it is a triad for accountability, not a triad for polyamory. Just throwing that out there.
I think the only one who was thinking about that was you.
Hey man, there's like a growing population here. Okay, I just want to throw that out there. We could have a following. So
good caveat. Yeah, and that's been going on for a year, right?
A year? I think it's been more than that, dude. The regular calls, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the regular calls have only been about a year. And I know, and even before that, we did they were kind of sporadic, but we used to meet for drinks, right?
That was every few months.
Every couple months.
That's how it started.
And then we created the group from there, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so of course, like everything, it's changing and evolving, and all of us in our own ways are also changing and evolving and and growing. It's been a really good check-in for everybody to create where each of us are at and what we're all looking for, like where some of the breakdowns are, and to keep it fresh and relevant. It's always been changing. We've been really committed to that, which is pretty powerful.
Yeah, we've had 2 or 3 like solid check-ins on what are we up to, what are we creating, is it still working?
Yeah. And it's changed again. So I'm not part of every check-in anymore. There's been a pivot in how I want to use my time, my mornings. So in listening to Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. club, he's created some, it's an elevation of my early morning routine that I've already been running, but running a bit willy-nilly
Willy-nilly.
Now, for the success of actually waking up at that time consistently and doing something productive is less than what most people are capable of doing or think they're capable of doing. And this is really just a few little tweaks of optimization. And so early mornings, 4:45 wake up, 20 minutes moving my body, 20 minutes reflection, 20 minutes of growth. Reflection being meditation, journaling, and growth is learning something, reading something, whatever that might look, and it can change. And then there was another part that he talked about with focus time, and he's got some pretty cool structures to set up, put in place to really have focus time. One of the structures that he uses is called the 90-91 method. So 90 days for 90 minutes, you're focused on your one thing, the difference maker that will be completely necessary, is a complete missing in the marketplace. Whatever that is, right? It will be the ultimate differentiator and difference maker in your world. And what is that? So after you got clear what that is, you spend 90 minutes every day for 90 days on that piece.
Holy snap.
Right. And inside of 90 minutes, and he talks about the early morning from 5 to 9 is your optimal block. I would agree. My 5 to 9's got a lot of variables in it. Kids wake up at 7, so from 7 to 8:30, that's off, right? There's really nothing to be done but that. But then from 8:30 until 9:30, and maybe even a little bit before, I can leverage and be intentional with those 90 minutes. It's been pretty awesome to be able to commit to removing all the distractions and just digging in. And it's liberating.
That started this week for 90 minutes every morning?
Yep.
And so just to get me more clear on what those 90 minutes look like so I can put it into context for myself, like what is it that you're doing during those 90 minutes? Like, what are you focused on?
So I'm focused on another show. I'm not going to say too much about it yet.
Ooh.
It is something that I'm using to build out my personal brand and to also be of service to community. And it's always a really good idea to work on it, to get clear what the context of the show is. You know, what does it look like? Why is it important? Why is it of value? Why would anybody care? Like being able to answer those questions.
This is a podcast?
No, it's not. It's an actual show.
A show?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah.
I'm in the presence of like a television mogul now. Is that what you're telling me?
It could be.
Do people still use television?
It wouldn't be a television show.
Oh, okay.
But it would be filmed.
It would be filmed.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And yeah, it's spending the time to really get clear what it is and why it would be worth doing. And
that's probably some valuable time to spend.
Hands down. Now when I'm able to have the conversation with those that I'd like to bring in as part of this initiative, they're clear because I'm clear. And they see the opportunity because I saw the opportunity. Mm-hmm. And then we have a common ground for creating a conversation for partnership, right? Like, what does that look like? But that'll only happen if you actually spend time getting clear.
Yeah, for sure.
And 90 minutes, it's amazing what you can get done in 90 minutes.
When you focus, when you're actually focused and you don't have those interruptions. I was talking to my wife, or no, actually it wasn't my wife. It was, it's hilarious. Heather brought this up yesterday on
Your second wife.
My second wife, that's right. Non-sexual. She brought this up yesterday on our call, and she was talking about how, like, in the employment world, apparently there's been like a bunch of surveys and different things that have been done that show that in an 8-hour day, like, an employee's really only working like 3 hours a day.
Hey, I would not be surprised
getting
at all.
Only 3 hours of production in, which I'm sure
it's an old paradigm, man.
Oh,
it's
dude.
come from the Industrial Revolution.
I've even been thinking about that for myself. I'm like, why the fuck are people still jammed in tiny apartments, all slammed in New York City? Why are people still jammed in the middle of, like, I mean, I'm thinking of densely populated places, but I was just thinking about that. Has anyone ever taken the time to look at the numbers? Like, what would it look like if instead of having a giant corporate office with 300 employees, like if you're getting your work done, what's stopping you from being able to live in buttfuck Saskatchewan and do your job?
That part's changing.
I know, I get that it's changing, but it is very slow.
Yeah.
It's a very slow. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent.
That was a
here.
tangent.
That was a
We
tangent.
definitely need that tangent sign.
We do. And anyway, so she was just going, pointing to the fact that the 3 hours of production is not workable as an entrepreneur, right? Like, it doesn't work. And we have like these super crazy expectations that we're supposed to be like jamming it out all day, every day, right? So we have the opportunity to set ourselves up in a way that you can have that effective time, and then you can have time that is working on other things, right?
The construct that it's a cultural and society-based construct that has just been perpetuated over time.
Oh, are you going down a rabbit hole? This sounds like a conspiracy.
I'm not. I'm talking about what you're referring to.
No, I know.
It's
Just
a thing that we've just inherently adopted because our parents adopted it and our parents' parents adopted it, and
hands down.
And I grapple with. I'll have completed a whole bunch of good stuff and moved things forward, and then right away, it's not enough.
Oh, dude.
You should be doing more.
Oh, my word.
Because your day's not over yet.
I heard that.
And it is really hard to navigate that, like with some power and some intention and some and honoring what's been achieved and what's needed. I don't know, man. No easy answer there. It's a daily.
Well, you know what? This is so funny. I was literally having this conversation with my wife. I think, what's today? Saturday? I think it was Thursday.
Your real wife.
My actual wife, the one that I have lots and lots of sex with. We had sex last night. It was awesome.
We'll have to put that in the teaser at the beginning.
Yeah, we had sex last night. Who's he talking about? Who did he have sex with? Oh. Anyway, tangent. No, we were talking about this the other day. I was saying totally it's never good enough. Not only did I not do enough, but what I did wasn't good enough, for one. And I was saying to her, like... You
should put those in 60-second increments. Is that what you're doing?
Who the fuck does this guy think he's talking to?
I was just checking.
It's fucking unbelievable, man. Come on. No.
You're doing a lot of changing, so I'm like,
yeah, man.
Is he really intentional with it,
What's
or does he feel like
there?
he has to? And it's...
Well, actually, what I'm present to right now, not to go into too much of a tangent, but it's just... being attentive to this and being with still the conversation so that I'm not like, oh, what did he just say?
Yeah, so, totally. All right, continue. Sex with your wife.
Yeah. Actually, what I was actually starting to talk about, what I meant to talk about was, no, I think it was like, I can't remember what day it was. It doesn't matter. And I had a really effective day, really effective morning. So I got into action right away. Like after we did our walk, I just felt momentum. I did the whole, like the eat the frog thing. I caught myself thinking about, okay, I want to go review what my day looks like, make sure I'm clear about what actions I want to take. And then it popped in my head right then and there. I'm like, wait a minute, dude. I'm like, first of all, you know about 3 or 4 really critical actions that need to be done right now. You already know those things. So what is actually stopping you from just taking that action and creating some momentum? So I jumped on the horn, started making some phone calls and moved some things forward. And
it's so subtle, isn't it?
It is subtle. Like that.
You should be busy over here, even though you know you need to be over there.
No, you should probably spend some time getting organized to make sure that you're really clear about what you need to do today.
That's right.
Like,
double check. Triple checked that this is the thing that you really need to focus on.
Make sure.
And you probably need to spend about an hour on it.
Yeah. And then, you know what? You're probably going to get hungry by then, so you should probably make a snack.
Totally. So, anyways, I think you're out of coffee. You should put that on the list.
Yeah, definitely get the French press going. And then what ended up happening is by about noon, I started having a conversation with my wife. I'm like, what would it be like if I actually had the freedom to say, wow, like, I've actually like done my day. Everything else now is like a bonus. Do I need to really fucking be stressed out or grind away or like get after a bunch more stuff? Or could I go like, whatever, insert activity? I could go network, I could go work out, I could go hang out with my kids, I could go, right? I could write, I could meditate. Like that's the thing is if I'm, when I'm organized and I'm focused and I'm actually intentional and in action, it is totally possible to be, to your point, to be super effective in a shorter period of time and remove all of the societal bullshit, right? Like, oh, you've got to feel significant. You got to do 8 to 10 hours a day or you're not #hustling, bro.
Right. Yeah, man. And it has to be intentional. You have to create that after having done these things, these critical things, you will do X. It's not just a really good idea.
Right.
It's got to be in balance. It actually has to be inside of your planning.
Totally.
Now, there's one thing to like rigidly structure it in and go from 11 till 12, I'm doing my meditation. That might not always work.
Yeah, no, I that doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
Generally
it doesn't work for many people.
Yeah. But to your point though, dude, this is so funny because all the stuff we're talking about right now are conversations I had this week. An example is it's like a vortex. Time is a fucking vacuum. So if you don't know what you're actually up to or what's important to you or what your values are or whatever, you're going to do bullshit. But if you have it narrowed down to like these 5 things are really critical to me: my business, my relationships, whatever that is, my family, meditate, like self-care, meditation, right? So you're always going to know, okay, I've got space now. I know where I'm focused. I can focus on one of 3 areas or one of 5 areas: family, content, meditation, right? Training my body, do some meal prep. Like, and then it's like everything actually works and you get all the things that you want. I'm just present this week to how much fucking bullshit I spew. You know what I'm saying?
You're good at it, man.
Oh, dude. Like, no, but think about it. We all do. We're all, okay. I'm just going to go on record and say this. Human beings that are listening right now, we're all inherently full of shit and we're really good storytellers. So you got to take about 90% of your stories and fucking get rid of them because it's all bullshit.
Totally.
It's fucking bullshit. And something else that's like really present for me right now because we're kind of talking about it. There was a quick ad that I saw on Facebook on YouTube from our man Vishen from Mind Valley. Oh, yeah. And he was saying how inside of creating your life, he's like, I don't know if he used a specific language, but I want you to consider that about 90% of your goals and dreams and aspirations are not yours.
Totally.
They're like 100%.
They're infused by.
Yeah. Society, TV shows, Instagram, fucking your parents, like the things you think you want, the things you think you need, not the things that you're consciously creating and what it is that you actually want to get after, right? Fascinating.
That was the thing that we talked about yesterday for our Friday check-in. This need for contemplation. And we've mentioned this a few times on the podcast. If you don't give time to really dig in and think and create what you want your life to look like, not what the perception of life could be because of Instagram posts and the like, but that it's actually yours, and doing things like a vision board. I remember the first time I heard of a vision board, and I'm like, who the fuck does that? What's the point of that?
Yeah. And
it couldn't be more supportive in anchoring some of those aspirations in your life because you are at the source of creating it.
Yeah, and that's a good point. An anchor. There's all these people out there that are like, a vision board, that's ridiculous, man. What's that going to do? Like, not yet, dude, you don't get it, for one. And for two, if your vision board's not inspiring, considering you haven't
actually done the work.
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah. And it's iterative. And that's the other thing. What I thought I wanted at the beginning of the year isn't necessarily going to be what I want now. Or there will be something removed or added to it.
Totally.
And then we get to be okay with removing or adding something and not being attached, which is the other thing that we talked about, attached to, oh man, but I've gone this far to achieve this thing. And even though deep down I don't know if I want it anymore, I should still do it. That's another bullshit construct that needs to be unraveled.
Okay, this is perfect. We're giving like a laser rundown of our call yesterday, because one of the things that came up for me on the call. Boo-doo, 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 boo.
Vern's all enamored by Instagram.
Woo! One of the things that came up for me on the call yesterday was owning my shit and not making it mean anything. So in other words, like many Canadians, I'm up against a conversation right now with CRA. I'm up against a constant cash flow crunch, right? I'm up against, right, dealing with my business, dealing with things. And the reality of it is that things are the way that they are for me right now due to actions or inactions that occurred in my past.
Yes.
It actually has nothing to do with right now, and it doesn't mean anything about me. It's not in my future. I can totally shift my way of being, totally shift my attitude, my actions, my plan, and literally create a new future and be responsible for the shit that's going on right now and own it as mine and fucking do what I need to do to deal with it and not make it like paralyzing.
It's actually a byproduct of choices that you made or didn't make 1, 2, 3 years ago.
100%.
That are now revealing itself. Really, they're really present because the decisions that were made prior, you really committed to. You allowed them to. I get it, man. I'm present to a handful of years of being behind on some things, and that was because of an active choice to say, okay, I'm choosing not to worry about this because there were some other things that completely legitimate needed more focus, and the other thing still needed to be addressed.
Oh, for sure. And I know for me, to piggyback off that, I've had this attitude of one day someday. One day someday when I have this area of life handled,
this other thing
will get taken care of. You just let yourself off the hook so you can be totally irresponsible about it, right? And
it is a balancing act, man.
Totally.
I'm listening to Jocko's book, Jocko Willink's.
Jocko Willink?
Willink.
As a savage.
Dichotomy of Leadership.
Sorry, what's the name? What's the name of the book by Jocko Willink?
It's called The Dichotomy of Leadership, and I really admire how he sets the stage, the scene, and the humility. It's such a great balance between humility and tenacity and generosity and being fierce, and it's a great cross section. You require a little bit of all of it.
100%.
And in this book, he talks about balance. As we are leaders in our lives, whether we are in business or not, or we are on our own, or we have family, or whatever the case is. At the end of the day, we are leaders in our lives, and we must balance the extremes of what shows up in leadership. And we love to swing to the extremes and hang out on the one side, wishing that this is the answer, when in reality it actually has to swing kind of right in the middle.
100%. Yeah, you got it.
It's a good book.
Yeah,
I highly recommend
the dramatic swing. And just for some context, what I know about Jocko Willink is that he's a former Marine Corps commander in the U.S. military, and he's I don't know how many tours in Afghanistan, and he's seen men get killed and injured and all that kind of stuff, and told some pretty intense stories about that shit. And it gives you a little bit of perspective whether you are on the bandwagon, whether you agree what they're up to or not. It is what it is. There are young men dying every day, and it takes a lot to be there, right?
Well, and it's in how you choose to show up and how you get to know people and build community that prevents those things from happening. To be really effective, to not have those things happen. To be, his other book, Extreme Ownership, is what do you get to be responsible for in the outcomes that have resulted because of the choices you made or didn't make.
Yeah. Okay. So I just got to tell this story, and hopefully I don't brutalize it. So if this ever gets in front of Jocko somehow, if he actually listens to this, bear with me, bro. Well, just laser high level. He was telling this story about how he was leading a crew into battle. And out of nowhere, he says this wicked firefight ensues, right? And there's just shit going on, dust, and it's loud, and people are like trying to give commands and get their posts and all this kind of stuff, and everything's happening. And what ended up happening was, I can't remember how they discovered it, but then they realized that they were in a firefight with friendlies. So there was U.S.
They call that blue on blue. I only know that because I'm reading the book right now.
Yeah, you heard that. Okay, cool. So there was U.S. Marines on one side with, I want to say, Iraqi friendlies, and then U.S. Marines on the other side. And somehow the communication got mixed, and somebody was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And then they thought, okay, those guys are in the wrong place. Those aren't our guys or whatever. And then there's a battle, right? And then afterwards, like, he was the commander. He was the guy in charge, right? Yep. So afterwards, what was interesting about this, because this is where he started to come up with, not where we actually got present to what it means to take extreme ownership, be extremely responsible for the situation. He didn't shoot anybody, but I think a couple of Iraqis died. I think maybe an American died, and then there was a bunch of injuries, right? So it's like a big deal. So anyway, all of a sudden there's the debrief, and everyone's in the room. And he was told by his commanding officers, you got to go and think about, like, we want to know in your debrief what the fuck happened and whose fault this is. And so he was at the front of the room with all these guys. It's obviously pretty intense, emotional situation. And he's like, I don't know if it was him or somebody was like, okay, whose fault was this? Whose responsibility was this? And then a bunch of at different times, soldiers would stand up and be like, it was my fault, sir. This happened, blah, 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 blah. And then Jocko spoke up and he's like, okay, great. Sit down, soldier. Here's the deal. Like, this actually is 100% my responsibility, right? Like, I'm the commander. I'm the one who didn't give clear instructions. I'm the one who didn't ask the right questions to get my own instructions. Like, just imagine, like, I'm getting goosebumps. Imagine being in that room, what that's like.
Super intense.
It's crazy. You make one mistake and people die.
Yeah, you can go to prison.
Yeah, you can go to crazy shit happens, right? It's intense. Anyway, so is that a tangent? Does that count as a tangent?
I don't think so.
One thing that I will say that ties into what we were talking about is that's one of the things that I'm focused on spending some time on this weekend is getting clear about, what is it that I'm actually up to? What is my goal? What is my dream now where I'm at, right? Seeing what I'm seeing. Because I'm in action. I'm making some things happen. I
believe you have a structure for that, don't you?
I do have a structure for that.
Yeah.
There's this little baby that I've got. What is it, the version 3?
You don't have version 3 yet. Yeah. Version 2. I don't have version 3 yet.
Oh, I have version 2 with a better coil. A better.
Yeah, it was a prototype mock for that. But
yeah. So David has created the GYST Life journal, right?
It's the roadmap.
The roadmap. And so, I'll be doing some of that work this weekend. I'll be doing some vision boarding and really getting present to what it is that I'm creating. To your point earlier, if I actually know what I'm up to, if I know what path I'm on, I'll actually know what steps to take each and every day to get me closer to where I'm going to be in 2, 3 months, 3, 5 years. And I can actually be okay with being complete for today rather than having that frantic, like, it's a never ending
what did I miss?
Mountain with no top, like, got to chase it, got to get after it, right? What the fuck are you up to?
Mic drop. Boop. So we got to the point where it's clear we all have choice in how our lives work, what doesn't, what we get to be responsible for, what we choose not to be responsible for, and who we have around us that will take us to that next level. Who do you have around you that help you take you to the next level? We are clear that you have to have the right people around you for all of this to work. So make that a priority, and also make a priority to think about the bigger picture. Spend the time to contemplate and dream, because it's inside of your dreams where your real passions will arise, and you'll be making the difference that you secretly have been wanting to make this whole time. Enjoy the weekend.